Arise. Did everybody have a good Easter? Do the three of us that are in here have a good Passover? Yes. Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Welcome you all to Rotary. It's going to be a great presentation today. On the piano is Ross Smith, and leading us in God Bless America is Major Pierre Smith. Come on.
Thank you, Mr. Yes, brothers. Brothers and sisters, fellow Rotarians, let us pray God's blessing on America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her from the life from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, twice we fall. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Excellent, excellent. Everybody, you know, Pierre is always easy to work with, and he's always does it with a smile and gets up here and comes and sings wonderfully. And he is going to be retiring and leaving us in June.
It's a pleasure to serve, sir.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Tori, would you like to come and give our invocation?
Short, sweet, and simple.
Oh, that's what I like.
Hello, everyone. Let us take a moment to pause and be grateful for the opportunity to gather today. We give thanks for the spirit of service that brings us here and for the chance to make a positive difference in our community. Guide our thoughts, our words, and our actions today so that they reflect compassion, integrity, and purpose. May we leave here inspired to serve others with humility and care. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tori. You may be seated. And I'd like to call Jared up to welcome guests in person on Zoom. If you have a guest, please make your way to the microphone to introduce your guest.
All right, while the people are making their way to the microphone, on Zoom today we have Dosha Peak, Guard Waite, Don Updegraff, Larry Ivinsky, and General Kowalski. Now in person, Laurel, you have a guest?
Oh yeah, my guest today is Jeb Womack, and he is with UL Coleman Companies in our Asset Management Department.
My guest today is Allison Young. She's probably no stranger to most of you, but she is now working for us at Sci-Port Marketing and Donor Development.
And Alan Organic, you have a few guests? Yeah, if you'll come to the microphone.
We're going to fine you 1 year's dues for not being ready at the microphone.
I have three guests from Inferno. Solomon Adeboyega in sales. Sarah Hedgepeth, accounting and IT. And my son Elliot Organic. I also working at Inferno.
All right, glad to have you guys.
And I have two guests. One is the mother of the speaker, is Leah Muslow. And then one of Grant's grandfathers, Rob Franks. Quick reminder that this Friday, we will have our little coffee social as usual from 7 to 8. It's usually 7:30 to 8:30. Who yelled that out? But you know what? Again, what did I tell you about Ron Burgundy and Anchorman? If it's written down on this, I'm going to read it. It says 7 to 8. I know it's 7:30 to 8. So 7:30. Well, you know I can't pay attention. I'm broke. So 7:30 to 8 at Rhino Coffee, we will have our morning get-together this Friday. So please join us. It's always fun. And Lori, where's Lori? I know come on up, Lori. She wanted to say something. I've mentioned this a few times about the Ronald McDonald House, but she's going to give us more information. And
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm just excited to invite you all to the Ronald McDonald House tomorrow for a tour tomorrow afternoon. Just as a reminder, it doesn't have to just be a Rotarian. If you want to bring a spouse, coworker, just someone in your circle that may have an interest in learning about how we care for families, 9100 Susan Drive at 1:30 tomorrow, and I have a couple flyers if you need more information. Thank you.
thank you, Lori. And you did this specifically for Rotarians. So this is going to be a tour just for our club. I guess anybody else in the district that wanted to come, if you can get the word out, Lawrence, that'd be great. I think the more the merrier, right, Lori? Okay, great. So that's a great thing. Y'all really put that thing together, as far as I'm concerned, very quickly. And it was a lot of help with Melissa Knighton as well, I believe. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Lori. And Charlotta Nordyke, would you like to introduce a new member? Swallow, and come on up.
It is my privilege today to introduce to you our newest member to the Rotary Club of Shreveport. I first met this fine, handsome young man when he moved across the street for us for a short period of time. And I have to tell you, I recognized immediately a Rotarian in spirit, because he was immediately helpful to all of those in our neighborhood that have hair my color instead of his color. He helped me move plants. He helped people who were having car trouble. And he got to know us all because he has the most wonderful black doodle named Bear. And Bear, when he would take walks, and he knew more of our neighbors than most of us that had lived there forever. He is the owner of, I'm reading this one, Revive Roof and Surface Company. We provide, this is what they do, they provide replacement, repair, and rejuvenation solutions for commercial and residential properties. He has sent me pictures of like a pool surface around the pool. If your pool surface is looking kind of dingy, this is the man you want to talk to, because they come in, they clean it, they seal it, they make it look brand new without you having to spend the money to get a brand new surface. He is partners with Karen McCoy, and he and Karen have had the company for about a year now? Little over a year. I am delighted that he has finally decided to join us. I've been after him for several years, and so help me. Yes, I wore him down, that's right. That helped me in welcoming Paul Cavell. He's from Monroe, went to school at Cedar Creek, went to Louisiana Tech before he came to Shreveport. So help me in welcoming Paul Cavell as our newest member. You have to take a picture now. Okay. Okay.
All right. And when you said fine, handsome young man, I started to step up until you said he lived across the street. So glad that was clarified. I dye it gray, Charlotta. Yeah, I think it gives this somewhat, it makes me a little more distinguished. I need everything I can get. Yeah, I wouldn't say that. All right, I'm glad we got through all that quickly, because I'm so excited about this program. On your tables is a little bio. One of the partners could not make it, but the partner I desperately wanted to come and the whole reason for them coming is here. It's Grant Muslow. Grant is a co-founder of FarmMind. He's a graduate of LSU. He had a double major in computer science, computer engineering with honors. And right now he's getting his master's in electrical engineering at LSU while helping run this company as a co-founder and CTO. I'm so giddy with this. If you remember, I've been talking about this program for a month after every meeting, because Grant and my oldest grew up together, and Grant's like a second son. In fact, the first, he and my son Garrett each eagled out of Troop 14, and they received their first merit badge when I took them over to Dallas to go to the Ham Fest. He's shaking his head, and they had to do a merit badge for ham radio. And that was it was just the three of us, and we had a lot of fun. At the time, they had the Scout Museum was located in Irvin, and before it moved to Philmont, and so we got to tour that and see all the Frank Lloyd Wright paintings. They didn't care about that, though. They were too young, but I got a kick out of it. But Grant is something else, and I'm so proud of what he's achieved in his young life, and it makes me very, very proud. And because he's like a son, I mean, it makes me giddy thinking about all that he's done and all that he will do. He's smart, he's bright. One story to tell you about Grant, when he was young, he had two younger brothers, twins, and they had a bunch of allergies, and so Leah, his mother, would restrict their diet to the point Grant wasn't getting what he needed as far as sweets and stuff like that. And Grant, we lived in the same neighborhood, and I'd hear the door open, and Grant would just come walking in again like he's my son, and he'd kind of wave high, maybe not even sometimes wave high. He'd go straight to a cabinet, and just, this is what you'd see. And he would get cookies and whatever else out, and he'd get his fill without his mom knowing at our house. But he wasn't allergic, so it was all good. But anyway, so I'm really, really excited about Grant and what this new company is doing. It's one of the good things that, you hear about all the naysayers and things about the bad things that AI can do. There are a lot of good things, and this is one of them. So Grant, if you'd come on up here, and everybody, please help me welcome Grant Muslow, the CTO of FarmMind.
Thank you for that introduction, Mr. David. Yes, many, many stories and fun stuff that me and his son have done, me and Mr. David have done, and really excited to be here and give this presentation. So, let's see if I can see some slides here. There we go. So before I give, an introduction to myself and the rest of the team, I want to define the problem that we're trying to solve. Because there's a lot of different components to it, but the macro problem is trying to figure out how to access different pieces of information and how to combine all of that into one platform and use artificial intelligence technologies to be able to synthesize data and to be able to understand it. So what you're looking at right here is a bleached versus a healthy sugarcane field. This happened to one of who is now on the platform, farmers who applied a pesticide at the wrong time. So they applied it when the temperature was too warm, and he ended up losing millions of dollars worth of product by making one bad decision. And this could have been prevented if he was using FarmMind as a platform to access all of this information and to figure out what to do in what situation. So if you can't make the right decisions fast, you can pay for it all season. Oops. Let's go back. So, agriculture is one of America's most important industries, but it's also one of the most complex. With thousands of different decisions needed to be made every season, and constant regulation change, and couple that with already razor-thin margins, you get a recipe for error. And combine that with field notes and recommendations that a consultant might give you, and the information overload is real. There are so many different sources of data out there, whether it be satellite data, weather and irrigation information, soil tests, equipment data, financial management data, regulatory compliance, and more. The result is this patchwork of different pieces of information that you have to look through all of these different data sources, and it makes it almost impossible to manage. And that's why agricultural consultants are able to help these growers sift through all of this data and to get access to all of these different insights. And there is an intelligence gap because people are going to miss some things that maybe are buried deep in an Ag Center manual or in a pesticide label, or are just hidden to the eye because you don't know where to find it. So the problem that we're trying to solve is to give farmers access to all of these pieces of information in one platform, and using artificial intelligence to be able to sift through the noise and to figure out what matters. So, Mr. David introduced me. My name is Grant Muslow, Chief Technology and Lead Engineer of FarmMind. My co-founder, Colin Raby, couldn't make it, but he is a Chief Executive Officer. Got his degree in mechanical engineering and spearheaded a lot of AI projects on Capitol Hill. And we're really happy that our team is half technology and deep engineering and half agriculture, including Cole Lacombe and Aaron Beatty, who are agricultural consultants themselves, and we have this unique ability to be able to collaborate incredibly efficiently. I might have a great idea, and then Aaron might say, well, that's never actually going to work in practice. So having those quick iterations and being able to really get this technology out and, being able to have this dual DNA advantage. And what FarmMind is, we have all of these different components of the software that if you look at the current agricultural technology industry today, there are a bunch of narrow solutions to each of these problems. So you might have something like Bayer's Climate Field View that has all of this different satellite and yield data information, but doesn't actually do a whole lot with that information. And then you might have a really good mapping software that's from 1995 that a lot of the growers are using today in South Louisiana called FarmWorks, where you can map all of your different varieties and figure out this weather information and whatnot. And it's just a nightmare because these farmers and these agricultural consultants are paying individual subscriptions for each one of these pieces of software. And it can rack up, like some consultants are paying like $25,000 a year for just software, which we think is kind of nuts. So once you put all of this information into one platform, you get rid of this patchwork, and you're able to have everything under one umbrella so that you can analyze it incredibly efficiently. So what makes this possible is our proprietary agricultural intelligence engine, which kind of is the centerpiece for all of these different nodes of information that allows it to analyze all of this different data and to act as three things: a secretary, a researcher, and an assistant, all in your pocket, which helps you optimize operations and automate back office paperwork. And what it enables you to do, as a secretary, it can record all of this information just with your voice. Think of like Siri or like Jarvis or something, and being able to just talk into your phone and then it acting as a secretary to be able to record all this information on a field-by-field basis. As a researcher, it can look through all 16,000 EPA-approved pesticide labels and be able to cross-reference that with what you've taken in terms of field notes and recommendations and application records to figure out where the gaps are, what you did right, and what you might be able to improve on. And couple that with unbiased independence, and we're not just some big company that's trying to sell you a product. We're trying to get you the best insights for your data to help improve your bottom line. Now, before I go any more into kind of what all this that we're doing with AI, I want to kind of explain what artificial intelligence is and what large language models are. So we've seen this technology a lot, you've probably heard about it, and at the end of the day, this is a computer program. And what it's able to do, these are pattern recognizing machines. And you can see right here that the artificial intelligence kind of landscape goes pretty deep, but it includes all sorts of these different technologies that we've developed over the years to get where we are today. And I kind of want to explain that all these large language models are like next word predictors. And I'm kind of going to give an example here. So we have the man, the myth, and then what do y'all think comes next? The legend, yes. ChatGPT agrees. Keep calm and carry on, yes. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, he said something different, that's interesting. But at the end of the day, it's just trying to guess the next word. And it's going to do that over and over and over again. We call it that auto-regression. And, you have to make sure that AI is a tool and a computer and a prediction machine. Because that's all it's doing. It doesn't know, it predicts. So that means that it can be brilliant or also confidently wrong, which a lot of us have seen. These AI labs try to constrain this harmful behavior, but it's sometimes difficult to fully eliminate. And the best way of understanding how it works is to, the best way through is to understand how it works and for you to be able to understand that it is just a next token predictor. So what makes it really powerful is that it was trained on the entire internet of data. So all of those couple examples that we just gave, except bring that to an internet level where it's able to have all of this different data, and hence why they're called very large, because they're very large amounts of data. Animation there. So the way that you would train these models is that you have all of these pieces of data, and teaching it, well, which is called the learning part of it, is kind of like teaching a kid to do something. So, or teaching a dog to do new tricks. So if it does something right, like it says the good, the bad, the ugly, then you give it a treat, right? And these treats are in form of numbers. Computers love numbers. But if it says the good, the bad, and the bad, well, that doesn't really make sense. So you're like, no, don't do that. And you just do that over and over and over again, and you're able to get these really complicated and intelligent machines that are really good at guessing the next word. And over numerous iterations, these different AI models can learn how to do these complex tasks. So there are a ton of different workflows that AI can use, and these go across various industries. So for targeted discovery, you have this needle in the haystack trying to figure out where this piece of data exists in this large data set. You can transform and reformat data, which is an incredible part of how you're able to say something and then it outputs something else. You're able to categorize, summarize, and do all these different research support, and finally able to do optimization and automation. And we have built our AI systems to be able to use each one of these different workflows. I'll explain that here. So a good example from agriculture is that we have all 16,000 EPA-approved pesticide labels in our database. Now that is a ton of information to look through, especially since these labels can get up to 250 pages each. So in order to sift through that data, you need an AI system that understands all of these different labels and regulations. So if you ask something like, what is the pre-harvest interval of Mustang Max, which is a pesticide, on rice for chink bugs, you're going to get this answer with all of these citations. And the cool thing about what we've built is that you're able to click on these citations and it will bring you to the exact page in the pesticide label that it was able to find, which alone might not seem that great, but if you think that you're a farmer and you have to look through this 250-page document, A, you might make mistakes, and B, it's going to take you forever. And when you're already, in the field trying to figure out and your palms are sweaty and you glare on your phone, it just needs to be as easy as possible to get access to this information. So another form is the transformation of data, which is honestly perhaps one of the most useful things about AI across industry. The biggest thing is that AI broke the data format boundary. What that means is that any form of data can be transformed to another piece of data. So this is an example of how we utilize that so that a user, when they're using FarmMind, can literally take a picture of their field notes or their recommendations or their maps and be able to transform it into a digital version of that document. So we're taking this inherently unstructured PNG/image and being able to transform it into a structure that our app is able to understand. It's kind of like a computer program. So that's really important and what is empowering a lot of what you're seeing in the news with AI agents and whatnot. They're translating voice to computer code that can then be executed and kind of iteratively acted on. Another big thing is categorization and classification. So if you're out in the field and you see like some bug or some weed or some pest, you're able to take a picture of that pest and our AI system can identify it and give you a description. And then you can then talk about how you can get rid of it in the chat feature. So in addition, summarizing complexity, researching and support and staying up to date on all the different regulations and issues that pop up in the middle of the season, and being able to optimize plans and automate documentation. So very powerful combinations of all of that there. And our virtual ag assistant is able to do each one of these things to really empower you to just save as much time as possible and to optimize your operation. So the big issue with ChatGPT and Claude and anything else that you might have heard of or used is that there's an intelligence gap between what is relevant to you and what it knows. It was trained on the internet, and the internet has a lot of good data, but it also has a lot of wrong and general data, and these general models are not good enough to give you good insights into your own situation, and there's a couple of reasons behind that. The first is that it has no local context. So you have your own fields, your own crops, your own varieties, your own favorite products that you use, your own soil types, your own weather patterns, etc. There's no farm data, so they can't see what you've done in the past when it comes to your yields and your costs or anything else like that. And there's no compliance, right? So it doesn't have access to all 16,000 EPA-approved pesticide labels. So if you ask it about it, there's a 50% chance that it's just going to make something up. And this was one of the reasons why, like the bleached field that you saw first, ChatGPT told it to do it. ChatGPT told him to apply that pesticide, and it was the right label rates. But it didn't know the weather that it was, that was going on at the time. So it just, didn't work for him, and it cost him millions of dollars, $1 million escape for using a generalized AI system, which is nuts. So the goal of FarmMind is to build this AI system that has all of that context and giving it in relevance to your specific situation. So you can see an example here, how do I kill Johnson grass on blah, 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 and ChatGPT gives its regular, whatever answer, manual removal, blah, blah, blah. Like, you probably saw this on the internet somewhere, so it's just regurgitating that information. And in fact, a lot of people out there have tried to make what it's called AI wrappers. So they create their own like software front end or app, and then they just wrap it around ChatGPT, and you see like these are giving the exact same answers. And these are like big companies that are doing it and giving this bad information. When something like our system is going to give you exact label rates, and it's going to cite the specific information for each of its fact. And it has access to all of these agricultural specific tools like geospatial analysis, like weather analysis, and breaking down a problem like an agricultural consultant could. And just being able to think through problems in a fundamentally different way than these generalized AI systems do. And you can see pulled directly from the LSU Ag Center, they publish a bunch of data on what to use where based off of research that has come out. And in fact, our system was actually able to find in the LSU Ag Guide a bunch of errors. It was incredible that we were able to find this because we have our testing set that we use to evaluate our system. And we found that in just one section, we found 9 errors where it disagreed with what the actual label, which is the law, says. So we brought it up to LSU, and we're trying to work with them so that we can have our system audit what they put out every year to make sure that they're saying, and I can't blame them, I mean, it's like 500 pages of all of this research data that just gets lost in the noise. And sometimes, you just need someone to go over and take the time to really go in the weeds and figure out every single fact and make sure that it is still up to date. So I'm going to show a little example on how our system is able to transform all of this data and really do different things on the platform. And so one of the big things that the system is able to do is able to record all of this different data for your fields. So to know where your crops are, what varieties they are, what soil types, etc. And farmers like to keep track of all this stuff. Now, one of the things that is really common in South Louisiana is sugarcane, and they need to track every single variety and every single stubble, it's a perennial crop, so you cut it down and then it grows back, and then you cut it down and then it grows back. And those pieces of information are extremely important. And the issue is that they were previously using a system from 1995 where you had to click on each one of the fields and translate it from this to that, and agricultural consultants would literally spend 3 weeks to just allocate time to being able to at the end of the year changing all of their first year crops to second year crops digitally. And it was a nightmare. But what you just saw was we asked AI to do it, and it did it in 10 seconds. So it said, change all of my first stubble crops to second stubble. So it just saved them 3 weeks of their time that they usually allocate to just sitting at a computer changing information. So that's a lot where that secretary comes in, is that it's able to just automate all of this paperwork and busy work. So kind of in summary, by tracking all of these soil samples, this GIS information, field notes, field imagery, weather, and more, you're able to get all of these different analytics, personalized recommendations, and you're able to stay compliant and ultimately increase your bottom line. So, we launched the platform in September 2025, and since then, we're happy to announce we now support over 1 million acres by the platform. We have over, this number should be 80, paid subscribers. We're doubling every month with no churn and basically no marketing spend. So we've been really fortunate to see this exponential growth for the platform. And this all kind of started when me and my co-founder Colin, we were taking this class on large language models. And it was the first of its kind, and the head of LSU Weed Science walked into our class and said, hey, AI people, I have this problem. Like, I have this giant 500-page Accenture manual that I give out to all of the growers in Louisiana every year, and I always get calls from him saying, you know, hey, Dr. Stevenson, what pesticide do I use on Johnson grass? And he has to say, well, if you look at, you know, page 243, section 2, table A and table B, and you cross-reference them, then you'll know that you got to do blah, blah, blah. So our task for that class was to solve that problem using artificial intelligence. And we were extremely fortunate to win the J.D. Brown Venture Challenge to get us that initial pre-seed money so that we could be able to host our servers and be able to get a little bit of traction and be able to really support growing out the business. And since then, there we go. So since then, we've been moving incredibly fast. We have been winning these things called pitch competitions where we go and we represent Louisiana and LSU and the company, and we pitch in front of a bunch of investors. Think of like Shark Tank, except for kind of collegiate students. And we were just winning after win after win to get all of this different funding so that we were able to move and expand our technology, and including the Louisiana Pelican Cup for a $50,000 prize, the Nexus Technology Cup, which is Louisiana, for a $20,000 prize, and getting a Student Innovation Fund grant as well. And we're happy to announce that we're the first Louisiana team in history to win the American Farm Bureau Ag Innovation Challenge in Anaheim, California, for the grand prize of $100,000, non-dilutive. So we are incredibly grateful to meet all of the people there and to represent Louisiana. And Farm Bureau has been helping us out in Louisiana and abroad, and helping us get this product in the hands of every grower and agricultural consultant and every researcher. Hopefully, starting in Louisiana and then to the United States and then abroad. So, since the launch of our platform, our revenue has been doubling about every month, and we're in the middle of a funding round right now so that we can continue on this trajectory growth, because we understand the potential that this app has. So, again, all of this isn't just theory. We have the top agricultural consultants in the state. Ryan Viator, who kind of told that 3-week story earlier, says that he was able to do what he needed to do instead of 3 weeks in just minutes. And then Rogers Leonard, who is, used to be an agricultural professor, now is head of the Louisiana Agricultural Consultants Association, says that in his 30 years of ag tech experience, FarmMind is the most game-changing product for ag professionals that he has ever seen. So that's great customer validation there. We have this QR code right here. Y'all can scan it, and I'll show this slide a little later for our link tree, and so that you can get access to our Facebook, and we're on the App Store and on websites, so you're able to use it on your desktop and just have that virtual agronomist in your pocket. And I'm going to show off a couple of the distinct features that we have. Y'all want to finish up doing that? Here we go. So one of the core parts of the platform is being able to analyze geospatial data. And this data might be like, okay, you see a certain infestation level at this corner of your field, and then you go over and walk a little bit, and you see this infestation. And what we're able to draw from that is this heat map of this distribution. And what this can actually do, and some consultants are actually trying to experiment with it, is you can reduce your input costs by being able to say, okay, maybe I just spray this part of the field instead of having to spray the entire field because the infestation or fungicide level is lower, and so I don't have to spray as much product. And so this piece of data in particular is actually variant over time as well. So, and not a lot of other softwares are able to offer that type of geospatially variant and time variant data at the same time, and then being able to get those insights from artificial intelligence. So this is another example of how you can take your nutrient tests that you get throughout the field and being able to get fertilizer recommendations. Right now, these consultants, they're using the same old platform that they've used for forever since 1995, and they have to manually go through each one of these rows right here and manually put that information in, and that takes them like hours. It's crazy to me that, you know, they're spending all that time when all they have to do in FarmMind is to upload this Excel document to our system, and then it'll automatically attribute that information to these fields. So, there we go. So what it took all of that CSV data, which was variant over space as well, and you're able to get a nutrient map as you can see here. So you see this red part right here, maybe that's all they need to apply. Maybe they don't need to do a blanket application over the entire field, so that's going to save them on input costs. And you know, just being able to visually see all of this data and coupling that with AI insights makes this incredibly powerful. There we go. This is another example of, this is actually a variable rate seeding map. So this circle right here might be like an irrigated zone. So you might have a higher yield potential in that area. So why would you, you know, if you're doing a blanket application of whatever seed, maybe it's corn, beans, cotton, and you know, you might want to put more seed in your irrigated areas and be able to plug that right up to one of your John Deere case machines, and it automatically applies that product variably as a function of your soil types, which is kind of this horizontal lines right here, and your irrigation system. So you're not able to do this on a lot of other platforms, or it takes you so much time that you don't even bother with it. This is an example of an equation that someone could put in to generate that. And this is an example of a yield map. So one of the interesting things that you're able to do is, you see this kind of red part right here, you're able to actually cross-reference that with satellite data right in the platform. And I'm wondering if we have a slide for that. Maybe? No? Okay. Let's go back. Let's go back. There we go. So what we were actually able to observe is that in this red zone right here, that the satellite data was saying that that same area was going to yield less. and this was months before actual harvest. It's something called NDVI. It's some function based off of a whole bunch of satellite data. And that is incredibly important for mills that need to know this information ahead of time so it can help them out with all of their logistics. And being able, as a farmer, is it worth it to apply this product this late in the season if it's not going to affect my yields all that much? So, and this was taken directly from a John Deere tractor that they were then able to upload into FarmMind to be able to analyze further. And so, having all of these organization features, including this calendar where everyone as a part of your operation can see everything that everyone is doing at all times. Organizational friction is, very big and very difficult to deal with a lot of times. So having everything under one umbrella is incredibly important. And then finally, we have a field leaderboard which shows the profits across all of these different fields. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for having me, and I'm ready to open the floor to questions.
I first want to say congratulations. I mean, a wonderful product, great explanation. You're a great speaker. Thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank you.
So my question is, you got this computer reading this encyclopedia and all these books and all this. You must have a very big computer or multiple computers, or for lack of a better word, data center.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about your data center. How much do you spend in electricity? How much water are you using? What's your plans for expansion on your data center, and where's it located?
So we're currently using this platform called AWS. You've probably seen some ads about it. It's owned by Amazon. And one of the biggest cost, definitely right now, there's two things. These things called GPUs and obviously the actual databases that contain all of this different data. And the GPUs, they used to be used for graphics processing locally on your computer. That's why they're called graphics processing units. And it just so happens that these same systems are able to be really good for artificial intelligence because it's just a computer program that multiplies matrices together. So what we learned in math wasn't all that useless after all. Yeah. But on the terms of the electricity side, we don't see a lot of those. We have a wattage that the GPUs are outputting, and nowadays a lot of these models are incredibly energy efficient. They're getting more and more, they're getting smaller, and they're getting better. So we don't see those costs directly, which is really fortunate because it adds a layer of abstraction so we don't have to deal with it and maintain it.
So where's it located?
Our current one is in Chicago right now. We're wanting to move it closer to get around some latency issues, and we're also looking into local solutions as well. So you never know.
So 2 questions. One, have you had any epic fails where the model just didn't work and you had to go back and figure? So that's the first question. But then the second question is, you look at expanding nationally, what's going to be the ramp-up time, for instance, if you leave Louisiana and, for instance, move to Iowa, which has totally different everything, so the ramp-up time?
Yes, epic fail. When we were first developing our model, we have to pre-process a lot of these pieces of data. So all of these are PDFs. And if anyone's trying to deal with PDFs, you can't just plug it into an Excel sheet. That's what the difficulty was for so long, but AI can do that. It can translate this one piece of data into this other piece of data. And we do that through a process called vectorization. And there was a time where our vectors, which are kind of semantic versions of these pieces of data, were not good enough for that time. So it was retrieving the wrong pieces of information, and we had to iterate on our system over and over again to be able to have a much higher retrieval accuracy. And we cross-reference that with our internal evaluation data sets, and we're able to get incredibly high accuracies because, we're forerunners of this technology, and we had to invent a couple things to be able to get that such high accuracy because there's basically no tolerance for error. And that's one of the big things with our system is that we say trust but verify. We cite each and every piece of information that our AI is accessing. So with a click of a button, you can see the exact location that the AI pulled that data from so that you can independently verify before you actually put a product out. And that's one of the things you can't get with ChatGPT or any of these other models is that, they might bring you to the web page that's using its web tool, but other than that, you're not getting access to those citations. On the expansion side, so we've expanded to Georgia, Arkansas, Mississippi, a little bit of Texas, some guy in California as well. And we're in talks right now with a couple of potential sales reps that can really get, because the big thing with this industry is that it's a trust-oriented industry. And we have agricultural consultants on the team that already have clients that are throughout Louisiana, and we're from Louisiana, so it's been very easy to get people on board and having kind of almost that implicit trust. Now, when you expand to these other states, you don't have that trust built in. You have to prove yourself. And, there are a couple of really early adopters in these other states that, they want to trust it, try and verify the system and be in it for the long haul. But definitely having kind of these super spreaders in each of these states to be able to, that already have that trust and being able to get this out to the rest of the states. And I think a couple people in Brazil and India are looking into partnering with FarmMind as well to enhance their operation.
You were going on so long I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
No. How many programmers do y'all have?
So right now we have 5 programmers, including myself. All of them, our entire team graduated from LSU and was from Louisiana. So really happy to already have those types of connections. And, our software engineers are very experienced. Some a little, coming right out of college, but having a whole bunch of projects under their belts. And, we've been very fortunate that we're a group of hard workers, working them 120-hour weeks and getting them features out. So
And have you thought about expanding into the wine market?
Vineyards?
The vineyards.
Yes, absolutely. We have a couple of beta testers that we're looking into. It is a little fundamentally different, but nothing that our system wouldn't be able to solve.
Everybody, thank you.
Yes. Thank you all.
So, on behalf of the Rotary Club, we're going to give you, since you're in the field a lot, a charging brick.
Yes.
With Rotary's name on it, our club. So thank you very much, Grant. I appreciate it. That's great. He's 24 years old, and he's doing this. That's it. That's just insane. That's incredible. That is great. I wish John Lowe was around for this. Wouldn't that have been great? I mean, John would have been all in this. And John always looked forward. He always looked at new things, and he all right, Dwayne? He was a great guy, and he would have loved this. Anyway, thank you, Grant, very much. That was a fantastic, fascinating program. All right, so let's do our Rotary Foundation. Everybody have their tickets? So the Rotary Foundation took in $158 today, so $79 for the foundation, $79 for lucky ticket number 474. 474. Who's got it? All right, there you go. Roll it over or keep it. You got pressure on you. All right. So, there's no pressure from up here, though. Next, we have Rosney's Flowers from Rosney's Flower Shop to 402. 402. All right, there you go. Then we have Amy Sheehy's Chickens Hens have given us 4 half dozen eggs. The first half dozen goes to 589. 589. Right, there you go. Second goes to 355. Dave, 350, already taken. 394. 394 for the third set. There you go, well. And last set to 419. 419. Anyone? Come on. Who has 419? Going once, going twice. Oh, all right, there you go. All right, cool. So I'd like to thank James Adams for being our money taker, and Olivia Dawsett for raffle ticket selling. I think everybody today was their own greeter scanner, were you not? So give yourself a hand of applause. There you go. Next week, we have Jennifer Leddit, Leadership Live and Led by Choice, Not by Chance. So that should be an interesting program. If everybody would, we are on time. Please join and stand in the 5-way test. Of all things that we think, say, and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun? Rotary is adjourned.